Welcome back to Sakimas Ridge Homestead. About a month or so ago we did a video where we mowed the pasture with this brush hog, and in the comments of that video one of my subscribers, rdrake1413, recommended a few things. One, I said I couldn't find blades for this. He said try Agri Supply, which I had, and they did not have blades for it. And he also recommended maybe I should consider a flail mower. So I did a little research on flail mowers, and here's what we came up with. Hello, and welcome to our channel. We're glad you're here. Once he suggested a flail mower, I started doing some research, and from what I found, they seem to be kind of a cross between a finish mower and a brush hog. They don't do quite as heavy a stuff as a brush hog will, and they don't give you quite as fine of a cut as a finish mower does, but it's a good cross in between the two mowers. One nice thing versus a brush hog, they don't kick dust up as bad because the blades rotate this way and they don't have the wind lift that a regular blade will give you on a brush hog, and a brush hog will tend to clump as it cuts and spins. It pushes all the grass to one side, and you end up with a row of clumps of grass. But when this cuts it smooth and straight, and it tends to just distribute your clippings in a more even fashion. So I decided, okay, let's look for a flail mower. I started looking on Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist, and there weren't a whole lot to be found around here. And the ones that I could find were pretty pricey, because these are probably about 20% to 30% more expensive than a brush hog. And one day I just happened to look on Facebook Marketplace, and here sat this flail mower. It was relatively local, because a lot of the other ones that I were finding were in Indiana and Michigan and Pennsylvania, so it'd be a pretty good drive. This one was probably less than 45 minutes away, and he was only asking $250 for it. So obviously I jumped on it right away. We went down and looked at it, and obviously we did end up buying it. It's an Alamo, which the research I've done on Alamo, this appears to be like a commercial grade flail mower. Alamo is what a lot of townships and states and so forth use to cut the grass on a highway. It's a pretty well built, pretty heavy duty mower. Like I said, we only paid $250 for it, and while we were talking with the gentleman, he also had a brush hog that I'll show you in a little bit that we picked up also for $250, and it is a dinosaur monster. Let me bring you in closer and I'll show you this flail mower and what we've had to do to it, and then we'll take it out in the pasture and show you how it works. Good boy, Sakima. Okay, this is a model 74, so it's just a hair over a 6-foot cut. Tractor's only 5 foot wide, so in a good way we're sitting wider than the tires, so it does a nice job cutting. But in a bad way, I got to be careful on my first pass, because I could take my fence out pretty easy with this sticking past the tire. And the way a flail mower works, you've got these on this one anyway, it's got a pair of knives that hang on this little loop, and as the barrel spins, these sets of knives come around, and once it's spinning, they're sticking out straight. They don't jiggle around like that at all, and they do the cutting. Now we had to replace these knives. There's 36 pairs of knives, so there's 72 knives under here. I found them for $1 a piece, so for $72 I replaced all the knives, pairs. Some of them were worn, some were missing, some were broken, some were bent. So it was better off just to replace them all and go with brand new. And to change them, I'm sure we can't see because of the shadow, but there's a ring. Try and get in here. There we go. There's a ring that the two flail knives hang on, with a pin that goes through and a cotter pin that holds it in place. Now some of these mowers have what they call hammers, and they're a heavier, thicker blade that attaches here and faces this way instead of to the side. And the ones with the hammers on them are a little more heavy duty for cutting into heavier brush, where this is more of a lighter duty grass only type mower. This is rated to cut up to 1 inch thick weeds though. but you got to be careful with branches and rocks and so forth because they'll damage these thinner flails. The other thing we had to get, which I'm not sure how well I can show here, again with the shadows, this coupling on the front of the PTO shaft was missing. So it's got the spring-loaded with the balls in it. There was only one ball and about half the spring-loaded thing was there. So I replaced that. I bought from Messick's. They're a New Holland, Kubota, pretty good sized dealer in Pennsylvania and Indiana. They do also have a YouTube channel, a lot of really good detailed tractor information and implement information. So if you have any questions on some tractor stuff, that Messick's website and YouTube channel is a good resource, and they sent that here pretty darn quick. So they're good for a lot of parts. This appears to be in pretty decent shape. Everything was pretty well greased, which is good. Everything was there. I'll show you here on the back. It's got this rubber flap for the discharge. There's another look in there at all the knives on that barrel. So basically all you got is this barrel here rotating and spinning the knives, and then it rides on this big wheel here in the back, and you can adjust right here. You can adjust that wheel up and down to change your cutting depth, and then it's got the pretty heavy-duty skids on the bottom. The way I've got it adjusted right now is I've left it where he had it, which seems to be a good cutting depth. And when I lower this down all the way and it sits on the ground, you can see the skids are off the ground, and that's how it rides when it mows, and it does a pretty darn good job. I went around the pasture one time yesterday just to see how it worked, and it does pretty good. Now, the pasture's not real high. It's got a lot of, I believe that's Pennsylvania knotweed that's growing, and a few tall weeds here and there. A little patch of them out here. I just want to get one final haircut on it here before winter hits, and it's getting close. What a difference 2 days makes. It was like pushing 90 degrees 2 days ago, and this morning it's in the low 40s. So I think winter's coming. We need to get this cut this morning, and then we're going to bring the horses back over to this pasture. So let me get things set up, and we'll take this out, and we'll give you a cut. And then at the end, I'll take you back and show you that brush hog that we got. And what I've done so far is cut from the fence to just past the round pen, because it's hard to get through here and film. So now that I'm on these straight shots, we'll just work our way back and forth through the field. Normally with the rotary cutter, I just do a big circle until I come back to the middle. With this one, I'm going down and back. With that roller on the back, you're supposed to be able to stripe like you do a golf course lawn. So we'll see from the drone footage how that works. What I've observed so far, it seems to be quieter than a brush hog does. I mean, it's running right now. It's not up to full RPM, but it didn't want the tractor to be real loud. But as you can hear, it's not that loud. It just has a steady whirl sound to it. Riding on that big roller, it does tend to bang and clang as it goes over bumps. But other than that, it's a lot quieter than a rotary cutter is. So we'll hop back on the tractor now, get the drone up in the air, and do some footage of this thing doing some actual cutting.
as you can see here in the drone footage, it did do the striping like it's supposed to do with that big wheel on the back. I'm not sure if we'll ever do that again or not, but it does look kind of cool. And I imagine if this was springtime when the grass was, soft and growing, it might have striped even better than it did now, because this is kind of fall time and it was really, really dry. We haven't had rain in quite a while. But like I said, it did do a really nice job. The only really thick sections were basically under the drone right now, where it's kind of darker, right in through here. And it did a pretty good job through there. It didn't bog down at all. If you do like our videos, now would be a really good time to click that subscribe button and give us a thumbs up. And if you wait until the end of this video, while I was doing this drone footage, I took it up and did a 360-degree panoramic view of the land around us. So if you're interested in what's around us, stick around to the end of the video.
Now that the pasture's all cut, I can get the horses moved back over and they're ready to come. When Mercury's standing by the gate like that, you know that the pasture's pretty well spent and he's ready to come back over to the big one. So I'll go over there and start moving the horses in, see how this goes. Get the pasture. There you go. Well, there's Mercury. Let's get a Koya. Okay, that's two. Now we'll go get Sam. Remember, poor old Sam's blind. Heading right for the camera. Whoa, there we go. Let me get the gate. Whoa. There we go. Come on in. There you go. Well, there they are back in their big pasture. There's Sam, Mercury, and a Corey over by the water trough. I got to get that flipped over and filled back up. And then I'm going to take tractor in and go ahead and cut that down for the end of the year. But I promised you to show you that brush hog, so let me take you back there and show you that now. And there is the new brush hog. It's a Woods. I believe it's an R105. That's what kind of says here on the side. It also says, what is that? Razorback. So it's an older one for sure. It is built heavy. A little bent there we have to fix. The the PTO shaft it's not frozen up, but it's awful tight. I've been able to tap it with a hammer and get that much movement out of it. So I need to get some lubrication in there and get that U-joint, or the U-joint, get that PTO shaft freed up. The 3-point hookups look good on it. This front piece here, I mean, usually on a brush hog, these are just a piece of plate. It's that thick of a piece of tubing that runs across the front, probably about 1.25 inches, maybe inch and a quarter. Big heavy plate here. This is a solid, oh boy, at least 1/2 inch, if not a little thicker plate there. Big solid plate. This thing is built heavy, so this should last us forever. The only thing I've noticed that needs fixed is on the tail wheel shaft coming in. There's a pivot pin that runs through the tail shaft, and down in here there's a spacer that is loose, and on the other side that is loose. Those need to be re-welded onto the tail wheel shaft, but other than that, it's in pretty good shape. The blades look pretty good. We haven't used it yet, but when we do need to use this, it's gonna serve us well. So whenever we do use it or start to work on it, I'll do a video on that. But for now, I need to get over there and fill that horse water and cut the other pasture. And there's the smaller pasture all cut and finished. Now this one, instead of doing the back and forth cutting, I did a counterclockwise circle till I ended up in the middle. More than likely, next time I cut the big pasture, I'll probably just do the big circle again. No point in making the stripes. We're not a golf course here. We don't have to look pretty. We just need to be functional. But like I said before, this seems to do a really good job. I'm pretty impressed. I won't know for sure until spring, because the grass I'm cutting right now is pretty dry and pretty short. So in the springtime, when we get a nice thick, growing, heavy grass, we'll see how it does, if it bogs the tractor down or not. I was a little worried going into it because it says 35 horsepower minimum and we're only 33. We're not quite to the minimum horsepower rating on that flail mower, so it seemed to work okay. We'll just have to wait and see next spring. And then whenever we use that rotary cutter, I'll be sure to make a video on that as well. So thank you for watching. If you have any questions or comments, please put them down below. Appreciate if you subscribe and give us a thumbs up. And as always, you have a wonderful day.